That's awesome. You love to see it. But Mike, did you ever have well, I probably know if you did, but you were going to have Micah Parsons on your podcast, weren't you?
Yeah, so obviously being a Penn State guy and a Dallas guy, there's been talks. We have some mutual friends, but it's still in the works. It has been. Micah, before he had his own podcast, he would go on ESPN, and he cut that off his rookie year. But he doesn't do a lot of interviews, so it's still a work in progress. I still think he'll come on, but right now I don't like to reach out to him or the people that we know through each other during football season because
Yeah.
I'm a Cowboys fan. I wouldn't want someone like me reaching out to them while they got to play for a team like the Steelers, which he isn't even playing this weekend in Pittsburgh. So
how long is he going to be out? You guys know?
So Dallas has a bye coming up. I would like him to be out at least to the bye. So you get 3 weeks off, including last week, this week, the next. And then they have the Niners right after the bye. So they're going right into it. So take the time. So
it's easier to find out about injuries in the NFL than it is for Penn State. So
yeah, you're telling me after all the chaos that's going on there inside the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, the MetLife Monster, man. That's had so many injuries.
Dude, Thursday football, and it aggravates me because being a Dallas fan, like every year it was always, and we know the injuries that have happened on the Washington field. Like we saw Alex Smith, RG3 go down. That crap would happen to Dallas every week in week 17. And it makes me mad because they played a terrible team like the Giants. And that's how they lost Micah, like to a terrible game, which I hate Thursday football to begin with because Dallas played Sunday, had to tackle Derrick Henry. All right, 4 days later, you fly out to New Jersey, I'm sorry. And then you got to play a game on a Thursday. And it's just, I don't know, man. Thursday football is just brutal in the NFL.
I don't think anybody's life is worse than UCLA right now because they played – who did they play? Well, they just played –
Oregon.
Yeah, they're playing 3 ranked matchups in a row, and they're all over the place around the country. So
it's
and they're playing at 9 a.m. West Coast time for their fans to watch. So I think there's nothing more brutal than their fans.
One nugget on the schedule that I found at the beginning of the year, Penn State. When we have our bye week, when we come off our bye, we have to go to Wisconsin. But the week before that, Wisconsin has to go out and play UCLA. So it's a home game for Wisconsin, but Penn State's guys got a week of rest, and they don't have to travel to the West Coast. I mean, Penn State's been home for I don't know how many weeks now, and they don't have to fly out till they play USC. So,
Yeah, we got UCLA this week, and then we're at USC. Then we got a bye. Then we're at Wisconsin. So this is, we're in. This is pretty much the start of the meat of our schedule. I mean, Illinois was the start of the meat of our schedule, but we'll just get right into it. And that was frustrating. It's a good team we played. They're undefeated. The crowd definitely helped. We had a lot of dumb penalties. The play calling, man, is just okay. So, Mike, I'm gonna get both your thoughts, but the play calling has been pretty frustrating because Drew Aller is such a talented quarterback, and it's one thing that I've kind of come to a conclusion on. Right now, he's a game manager, which is totally fine. If we keep playing like we do, kind of managing games and not like putting up points, if we win a national title that way, I'm fine with it. Like that's totally fine with me. But if you're going to be losing to like USC or an Ohio State doing what you're doing now, then it definitely needs to change because the only thing that's making Drew Aller a game manager is Kotelnicki's play calling because his throws last week, like if you really watch what he was doing, his play was unbelievable. I mean, the windows he was throwing into, he was throwing no-look passes. He has a ton of zip on the ball. I mean, his arm is unbelievable. So if you let him sling the rock, man, he could do a lot of good. But I don't know. Maybe they're just not confident based on last year.
I still think
that's what he is right now.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I think, like, I always account for, and West Virginia is not a good football team. Like, we found that out right away. I consider, like, the first 4 games, considering UCLA is horrible, who they play Saturday. The first 4 games are like the preseason to me because there's no preseason for college football. It's going to take some weeks to get their offense figured out. What Kotelnicki's been able to do is bring out a new side of Drew, which is love. But just like you said, my biggest gripe is he gets too cute. Like the third down in the early second quarter there, when they're running out of shot, it's like you have 2 of the best running backs in the country. Like, and one of the best O linemen, especially when you're going against Illinois, which we saw Penn State dominate Illinois' defensive line. Like, give the ball to Nick Singleton. Don't make it. And it's awesome in unpredictable situations when they bring Tyler Warren in. But when they know it's coming, there is no need. You're oversimplifying what needs done. And I'm a big creativity guy. Like, Colt Nickey has brought a spark to Penn State's offense. But it's just take what's there. Don't make anything more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think
we talked about that, Brett.
Yeah. So far, the good news is, like, so far, the Illinois game, like, Colt Nickey as a whole called the game really well. Like, he's like, we're just going to run the ball. But that was the worst game that he's called in my eyes so far, because there were telling third downs, like you're saying, that you're not even trying to score points. Like, you're just running the ball on 3rd and 7. Like, we got 3 yards on 2 runs before that. So why are you running it? Like, it logically makes no sense. So yeah, just certain points. I'm sure he's gonna look at some things, and you know what I'm saying. He's just trying to figure things out. But I'm not too worried about it. I think at the same time, they thought Illinois was gonna play a lot of man, and they didn't. They were dropping back and playing a lot of zone. So that threw Colt Nickey off, I'm sure, and like changed his game plan on what was going on. So I think there's a lot of things that go into it. I don't think they stopped passing because they didn't believe in Drew. Drew, he did start off really hot and then got a little finicky and made a couple not great throws. But he can also get back in rhythm if you have him under snap. If you keep switching Tyler Warren and Bo in there, like he's cold then. Like you're just a cold.
I hate that, man. Like, I love Bo Prabila. I think Bo's a great athlete, but they're forcing him too much in there. Like, it's too predictable when he gets in. It reminds me of when Penn State used Tommy Stevens in that Lion package with every time he was in the game. It's like, what are you doing, man? Like, Drew's the best. He was the top recruit in the class, one of the top 5 quarterbacks in college. Why are you taking the ball out of his hands and putting it in someone else's hand? It's just the predictability when a guy like that comes in. It's like, okay, I get that. It's like he's not the starter. Don't try to cater to him. Like, he's a grown man. His feelings will not get hurt if he doesn't play a snap on offense, because he understands that we got this stud who's going to be in the NFL next year under center.
Yep.
Well, they put him at receiver too, dude. And I've said this, like,
yeah, that's the part that makes no sense to me. They're never going to throw it. Well, they might throw it to him once as a screen, and then he'll throw it to somebody else. But
it's a wasted body. It's a wasted body out there. You're playing 10 on 11.
Yeah, Mike. Did they ever put you at receiver when you played quarterback?
No, heck no. We didn't have the guys to do that, and I wouldn't have let it just because we were limited as it is. I mean, I played on a 24-man football team, but we had a few trick plays, but we didn't line me up at wideout. Like, I would throw it to my buddy Charlie, and he would sling it the other way. But we did it when it was random and when you should. Like, they act like it's like magic out there. It was like, I remember. There's a clip of Mark Sanchez out there when they put him out at wideout to block. And it's just like, the ball's not going to him. The corner literally ran up and just hit him in the mouth and knocked him on his ass. And it's just like, come on now. Like, and that's fine to do with Bowling Green, Illinois. But if you do that against Ohio State, they're going to laugh at you. Like,
seriously.
The only lucky thing is Drew's a big guy. And you saw what he did to that Jeremiah Trotter. Was it Jeremiah Trotter?
Stiff arm.
Yeah, you saw
throw him into the dirt.
He could block somebody. He's a big dude. So I don't think anybody's pushing Drew over. But at the same time, there's no reason to do it in the first place. So I don't know.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
But I think they're going to switch some stuff up. I mean, we'll be able to air it out against UCLA. So I'm at the game. So hopefully I can see that. So
Drew better be sitting on the bench with a cold Gatorade and a hot towel around his neck by the end of the third quarter.
I mean, dude, the thing too that I've said is, if you put Drew Aller out at receiver and he's a sitting duck, basically, if barring a penalty, if I'm like a good team, I'm going to smack the living crap out of him and put him on the ground. I mean, he's a big guy, but why not, dude? Like, why not do that? I mean, it's your starting quarterback and he's sitting out at receiver. He's fair game, so I just think that's dangerous. And then, you guys already said it, but you bring in a cold Bo Prabila, you have a tight end running the ball, like, not in a good position. I mean, if you watch sometimes when Warren's running the ball, it's down here. I mean, it's And you got two just unbelievable running backs, like Mike said. I mean, I don't know. But I hope, Mike, do you think that this is being done on purpose, all this stuff? Like, they should be putting up way more points against Illinois, more points against Bowling Green, more points against.
Yeah, I think
State,
what I said.
You think they could have won by more?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the Kent State, the defense just didn't show up. The defense, or I'm sorry. Bowling Green, they didn't show up. Maybe I'm getting them confused. Whatever the close game was, I believe that was Bowling Green.
Yep.
The defense didn't show up against Bowling Green. That was all on the defense, and they pride themselves one of the best units in the country. They played like garbage, and then they woke up in the second half. Like Penn State's allowed 9 points in the second half all year. 0 in the third quarter. But I mean, Kent State they could have won by 150 if they wanted to. But I think, like I mentioned earlier, it's preseason ball. Colt Nicky's seeing what's working. Like he got hired in the offseason and just had spring ball to work with these guys. But he wasn't dealt with the best wideouts to work with to begin with. Obviously, losing Keandre Lambert-Smith was big. As much as that sucks to admit, like he was a great athlete. Yeah, and I don't know what the deal with Fleming is, but Trey Wallace has played great. But outside of that, like we got guys like Liam Clifford who wouldn't touch the field at Ohio State, being instrumental on our offense. So I think he's doing well with what he's dealt with, and he's just trying to see who his guys are for when we get later in the schedule.
Mari Evans is going to keep flashing, I think. He's the deep threat guy.
He's a stud. I really like him a lot.
He needs to get a little better at not pushing off, but I mean,
all of them just kind of they made it harder on Drew this week because what I usually watch, like as a quarterback, I'm watching the wide receiver separation, and even like Wallace, like watching him get off, like no one was creating separation, the line was protecting, the wideouts just weren't getting open. And props off to Illinois, like they schemed us well on the defensive side.
They have a really good secondary too.
They do. They have a very talented.
I'm not too worried about it because they have a really good secondary, but.
Yep.
They were getting open some plays. And, I mean, they didn't, like we talked about, they didn't really go back to the passing. Colt Nicky could have schemed something up. He just went away from it. And so we're going to run the ball. And it worked for the majority of the game. Just certain calls, you got to throw the ball.
Yep.
I mean.
Yep.
Yeah. Overall, Penn State so far, and Jared Miller said it, my Steelers co-host. He said they have yet to show domination. Really, they I mean, Kent State, they kind of did, but I just feel like they haven't really, like, our offense definitely doesn't have an identity right now. We have so many guys on our offensive line. Like, we could literally go head to head. In my opinion, Penn State's one of the best teams in the country, talent-wise. Coaching-wise, they're not, in terms of play calling, especially on offense. But we have so much talent. Like our O-line, we could go head-to-head with anybody in the country with how much talent we have on our O-line. Zane Durant he might be our best player on the whole team. I mean, he's a freak. And then you got Abdul Carter, you got Tony Rojas, you got our secondary, you got AJ Harris. I mean, our team is it's a ridiculous amount of talent, man, and that's a credit to Franklin's recruiting. But I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to live up to that. The reason we're so good is because of how much talent we have. But the reason that we're not better right now is because of the play calling, especially on offense. And it's really the coaching, in my opinion. Like,
I disagree with the play calling part. If you think about it, 1 out of 4 games, the play calling wasn't great. You can't say play calling is bad out of 1 game, out of 4 games. You know what I'm saying? It's only 25% of the season so far. So I disagree in that aspect. Like, out of the other 3 games, the play calling on offense was really good, I think, personally. I think we put up points. It was the defense that was struggling in the beginning of the year. And then the defense showed out this past game. And the offense should have scored more points, but you need a field goal kicker for one. And
I just mean identity-wise, it's been bad. Not that it's been bad, but because we don't have an identity, you know.
Yeah, it's preseason, like he was saying. They're trying all these plays and they're seeing what works, and then they're going to fine tune that starting UCLA and moving forward, because then you got USC away. So then you're going to have to use your best plays for that. And Drew and the players are going to tell them, we don't like this play, we like this play, and then they're going to bottle all the ones up that they like and use those ones. I think it'll work itself out.
So you think that now you don't think like Kent State or Illinois, they tried to fine tune the offense? You don't think that was the time to start it? But
you're going off. Like you said, we could have scored 100 points against Kent State. We took our starters out in the third quarter.
Yeah.
So we could have kept going. We didn't have to. I mean, there was no purpose.
Going off the preseason thing, like, Mike, do you think we're going to fine tune it against UCLA?
I wouldn't say necessarily fine tune. I think that's going to be. It'll take till. I mean, if you look at Drew's stat, I mean, you have it up there on the screen. Drew threw for 24, 26 touchdowns last year. He's on pace for 24 this year. But what you're seeing out of Drew is he's much more efficient than he was last year. He's making throws he didn't make last year.
That's crazy.
And that's the product of Colt Nicky. That's what he's going to bring to you.
He's I think 70%. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this week is another week where you see who's working at wideout, and then you get into the games against USC, Ohio State, and then you say, okay, well, remember back here we went up against a good Illinois secondary. This guy performed. This guy didn't do what we needed him to do, and I think that's when it'll come out. Like, I don't think they're keeping any play calls necessarily for later in the year. I think that's a weird way to go about it, and a common misconception where people they're saving it for this game. Like, I don't think teams do that. I think they have their plays they want to run. Like, Colt Nicky's been around. He's coached a lot of good teams and a lot of great players, as is James Franklin. Like, Franklin was in Green Bay coaching the top guys. Like, their football expertise is unrivaled. And I think what we're just seeing the next couple of weeks will be the combination of all these games going together and being like, this is what we want. This is how we're going to attack it. But I thought, personally, the West Virginia game, I thought their offense looked perfect. They dominated. Yeah. Oh, yeah. They dominated in every way, on the ground, throwing the ball, which is something Penn State hasn't been able to do in a while. With Trace, they were a great runner, and love Saquon Barkley, but they were not that great of a running team when Penn State was there. They had an awful little line, but they had weapons everywhere where Trace was able to get away with it. Yeah. And then even with Clifford wasn't a great passer, but we had the ability to run the ball whenever.
I agree with that. Brett. Yeah, I agree with that. They do, like, there might not be necessarily plays they're saving, but they can add plays each week that they haven't really, maybe that they tried in spring ball or fall camp, and that they'll try to get better at. And there'll be new plays that we haven't seen, but it's not like that they're saving it for that opponent. Yeah, that opponent specifically. But they're gonna, like, each week is, like, I've heard players talk about, they'll learn new plays and try to incorporate that into the offense. So there'll be stuff that we haven't seen, but it's not going to be like a whole new playbook. So I agree with what you were saying. But, yeah, I think there'll be some stuff will be like, oh, we haven't seen that yet, just to, like, throw in the mix on important plays.
Yep.
I think I said this, Brett, previously, but it seems like with Singleton, they think that, like Saquon, once he gets to the second and third level, because they used to rely on Saquon's athletic ability to get to the second and third level, and then he'd make a play on his own. I think they expect Singleton, they almost are putting Singleton in that position, and he's not a Saquon Barkley type of runner, man. He's a north and south guy that has breakaway speed. So I've seen that several times, and one of the reasons I think why we don't see him break out and break off more runs is it's almost like they're not really setting him up to do so, in a sense. Like, you have some linemen getting to the second and third level, obviously, but it's almost like they put him in a position where they expect him to make a play, and he really can't because it's just not his style. Well, you know what I'm saying, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, what I like out of Singleton and Allen this year is they became receiving backs, and they never really saw that in the previous years. Colt Nicky was able to unlock them. They were always great blockers. I mean, we've seen the strength. We saw the chip block that I think it was Singleton or Allen had this past weekend. But they're using them in ways that I haven't seen, which I love that. But I haven't really paid attention too much to the utility in the run game. I think what they're doing is great, and they should just keep at it, honestly.
It depends. It depends on what defense the defense is in, whatever set they're in. So, like in the West Virginia game, those were designed big plays for Singleton. 40-yard touchdown run. It was designed to go far, and it worked. And then there was another one where a guy caught him, but he still ran for like 30 or 40 yards in that game. Mm-hmm. So there were designed runs, but it depends on what type of defense they're set in. But the fact that Singleton last year he was getting like you only see him 2 or 3 yard run into a wall. This year, you're seeing him rip off 10, 12, 8. Like, he's ripping off big runs. They might not be all big runs, but it's hard to get all big runs every drive. You know what I mean? It's really hard to do that in college football. But he looks way more efficient. He like you were talking. He murdered 2 people in one play. The chip block. He destroyed the defensive lineman and then went and just destroyed the guy to get the first down. That was a 3rd down play. That was a big play. So,
yep.
What are you guys? What's your predictions for the game? Players to watch, score prediction. Like, what do you got?
Whoever wants to go.
Go ahead, Brett. You go first.
I would feel comfortable. I'll put it this way: if we can score in the 40s, I think that would be comfortable because we haven't really done that since Kent State. You know what I'm saying? We were scoring in the 30s. We need to get to the 40s, man, in this game, and I think we do. Amari Evans has a big one. I see Trey Wallace opening up. Julian Fleming and Clifford, I think one of them or both of them will get some catches. Singleton and if Singleton plays, I mean, he wasn't at practice, so we don't know why he wasn't there. Obviously, Franklin wasn't going to answer why. They might even sit him this game just so he's good for USC. You know what I mean? Like, you might have to. So, I mean, he was destroying people the last game. Maybe he's a little banged up. But if I'm going to put a score prediction, I think it's going to be, let's see, we need a field goal. They're going to have to try a field goal with Ryan Barker, the walk-on. So I'm going to say, what would it be? 45-10.
Yeah, I mean,
Zach Seiko has a 42-10.
Yeah, I'm not too far off. I think I said like 37-6. They're not gonna be able to score. They haven't scored more than 17 in a game, and they scored 17 against Hawaii, and they're only winning. Hawaii's horrible. I'm with you though. I think it's gonna be a big Amari Evans game. I think Julian Fleming probably catches his first touchdown of the season this game. I think this is a game that it's a coming out party for the wide receivers. Like I said, I want Drew to be on the sideline with a towel by the end of the 3rd. I say like 37-6, 37-9 around there, something like that. They won't be able to move the ball. Penn State's defense is gonna get back. I know Dom DeLuca comes back this week, which he's our captain of the defense. Not best player, but probably our best mind out there.
Yeah, I would love to get to 40 points. I don't know if they will because I don't know, man. Like just looking at our scores so far. 34-12, 34-27, 56-0, 21-7. So I would love to get into the 40s. Even though it's UCLA, I don't think we will. So it's pretty much the same as Mike, like 37, maybe nothing, 37-6. Yeah, I don't think UCLA will be able to move the ball. But for us to get into the 40s, man, like I said, I would love that. And if they do kind of start molding this offense a little more to what they can truly do and, they kind of just go out there and put up points, then yeah, they can definitely do that. They could probably put up 50 points if they wanted to, but yeah, I'd say the same thing as Mike, like 37-6, a couple field goals in there. Our kicking game needs to be much better. It's horrible right now, but yeah, so Mike, when do you think, you kind of already answered this, but when do you think they find their identity, the offense / just, do you think they're going to do something different every game pretty much? Or
I mean,
they better catch up to them?
They better find it before Wisconsin or Ohio State's going to beat us by 30 because that team's talented out the ass. They're loaded, and they have Chip Kelly, who is one of the best college football offense coordinators right now. He obviously through Oregon, I mean, he was a disaster in the NFL, but he's still an offensive mastermind. He puts the player and the Smith kid, the freshman, is I'm hearing he's going to be just as good as Marvin Harrison was, maybe even better, which is wild to say because the kid's a freshman. But they got to figure it out before Wisconsin. I hope by then that's when our offense fully clicks, and they got 3 games to do it. Yeah.
So go ahead, Brett.
I don't know about. I mean, if we lose by 30, we haven't lost by 30 to Ohio State in how many years has it been? You know what I'm saying?
4, 5. But I mean.
It's been a while.
So last year was our best chance to beat Ohio State, and we couldn't do it. And this year outside of
They haven't played anybody though. I mean, Michigan State.
No, but
they haven't played anybody. So
yeah.
I don't know. It's a wait and see game for me.
Exactly. But I mean, right now, if I had to pick, I mean, I don't feel good about them. I never have, just because they're a team. Like, we had the fortune of not being able to play Michigan, even though Michigan this year is a down year. But when I went through Penn State's schedule, I had them at 10-2 with 11-1 realistically, but there's always a slip up game, as we know every year with Penn State. When you count them, there's a slip up that happens. So we'll see. It's going to be a good game, but from what I've seen, Ohio State. Yeah.
No, go ahead. Luckily, I think our trench play is better this year, to be honest. Like, all around. Our offensive line without Olaf Fashanu and Caden Wallace, even with the offensive line with them last year, we didn't dominate defensive line like we did this past week. We didn't do that last year at all. We did not look like that.
No, not at all. But also, Drew didn't even account for a touchdown against Ohio State, and he's got to play better this year, because if we don't throw a touchdown, we will lose by 20. It's a no shot. Like, if you play Ohio State and don't account for a touchdown passing, you're going to get busted, because their fourth best wide receiver right now would be our wide receiver 2 at Penn State.
No, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think we have a couple weeks to figure some things out, and I mean, we just got to hope that it happens. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, Oregon only put up 34 against UCLA. So if we can put up more than that, then Oregon's not that good.
No, I don't. I'm not high on Oregon at all.
But yeah, Mike, I agree with you. Like, the defense can only do so much. They did it last year. Daquan Hardy had like the game of his life against Ohio State.
Yeah.
And then like this is why, like, okay, so I'm going to look at our scores and look at Ohio State's. I know Ohio State hasn't really played anyone, but this is why I get so mad when we play these inferior teams who don't put up more points. And like you just said, I don't know if we're going to find an identity before. Like, if we don't find an identity with our offense and we establish what we need to do, like USC, we're in trouble. Wisconsin, we're in trouble. Ohio State, we're in trouble. And Ohio State, again, it's Ohio State. I mean, what reason do we have to believe that if we don't do well on offense and have an identity that we're going to have a shot at winning? Why would we? It's Ohio State, man. Like, so I wanted 40, 50 points against West Virginia. I wanted way more than 34 against Bowling Green. I wanted like 60 or 70 points against Kent State. I wanted like 40 points against Illinois. And you know what I mean? Because Ohio State, this is who I compare our team to. Like, you have to, man. If you want to beat them, you have to like compare 52-6, 56-0, 49-14, 38-7. That's on the road, and that's more than we scored against a good opponent this whole year. So that's where I get frustrated, man, because if we don't find an identity and we don't establish what we're going to do, then it's going to catch up to us big time. And it's just going to be, I think it's going to be too late by the time you get to that point. And here's another thing, Mike, why Ohio State just got the number one receiver in this class. They got the number one receiver in the next class. They basically get Alabama type talent. Like, why can't we do that?
Because I think outside of the wide receiver position, Penn State does a great job at developing guys for the next level. But if you look at Ohio State, Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, the list goes on of who's producing at the next level. Penn State's best tight end is Chris Godwin, who was there, 2014, 2016, obviously, it's part of the Big Ten team. But it comes down to that. I mean, we'll get the edge rushers and we'll get the linemen and the linebackers, but Ohio State's always going to be. I mean, Julian Fleming was a PA kid. He's from Southern Columbia.
Yeah.
Like, he went to Ohio State. The only reason he's at Penn State is because he wasn't touching the field at Ohio State. He wasn't and it's nothing against the kid. He's a great athlete, but he saw the writing on the wall. Like, he wouldn't have sniffed the field. And it's just the product of who's there and who they had coming in.
It's Brian Hartland. It's Brian Hartland. We talked about it. You can't beat the guy. It is what it is until he falls over and dies. Like, which I hope he doesn't, die. But until it happens, like, you're not out recruiting the guy. It just is what it is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes. Though we'll see.
Yeah.
Like, who was that? Who was that former Penn State receiver, or not Penn State, former Ohio State receiver who was a Democrat senator in Ohio? You know what I'm talking about?
Not off the top of my head. I do not.
I don't know if it was
Played for the Steelers?
no, Ohio State. Brett, you know what I'm talking about?
He was a what? You said Democrat?
He was a Democrat senator in Ohio, yeah. Anthony Gonzalez.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just bring that up because he made the news for something. Like, he was like,
No, I
like,
didn't know much about his political
he was
career there.
He was way left leaning on like the whole COVID thing, but this is a pro Trump podcast, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. But Mike fits right in with that. But yeah, I care. I don't know why, but he was in the news for something. But Anthony Gonzalez, but Brian Hartline, dude, like, man, he's something.
Yeah,
he's something. He's like Wes Welker of Ohio State football. You know, he's like this. Well, Wes Welker, he's not doing good right now because they lost their quarterback. But I mean, we were speaking about Thursday Night Football, dude. Like, talk about Tua Tagovailoa, like, what, his like 17th concussion or something like that, and the guy's like, just that's bad. What's going on?
Yeah, apparently he's supposed to come back
young.
like week 8, but he's an idiot. He should retire.
25 or something. Like, he's young. I mean,
he's very young.
I mean, as someone who's had concussions, I'm sure, Mike, you did too.
Yeah.
I've had 3 registered concussions, but I think I've had more than that.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're like on the ground and your fingers are like this, and you're like reaching,
that's God in your brain telling you something.
That is bad. That's really bad. That is not a good sign at all.
I had a theory when you were talking about like not putting up as many points. I mean, this could just be a theory too, but for how many injuries we've had already too, I think they're just like, maybe they're just taking it easy. They're trying to get some guys back because, dude, we've had so many injuries already, and it's like, if you keep going hard and hard, like, what, you're going to have to do that against better teams. But we knew we were going to beat these teams without trying as hard. You know what I'm saying? So maybe they're trying to save some bodies, man, because God forbid, Drew or Harrison Wallace or Tyler Warren get hurt, then we're really screwed. So I don't know. It's just a theory. I don't know, but that's my thought on it.
Mike, do you know what I'm saying about like the whole points comparison between Ohio State?
Yeah. I think you got to look at a lot of things. I think you got to look at who they're playing, what we're playing, who they have, who we have. Like, we're a defensive team with a good quarterback. I mean, Drew is played great this year, but he can make or break his career. If he has a great year this year and leads us to the playoff, wins a playoff game, he'll get drafted. He'll be one of the top quarterbacks. But if he plays like he did last year, where he was in that game manager, well, he'll be in Happy Valley next year. And I think a lot of it comes down to that. And I think there's a lot of ways to win. Like, if you watch, like we're going to talk about next, if you watch the Steelers win, they predicated themselves on a good defense. If you watch the Chiefs with Mahomes, during his first 2 Super Bowls was him. The last Super Bowl was their defense. I think there's many ways to win football games, and it's just Penn State and Ohio State just win in different ways. Like, I think you can look around the country, look at a lot of teams and say this team isn't scoring, but their defense is playing much better. But I mean, Ohio State hasn't even given up. We've given up more points in a game than Ohio State's given up the entire season. But only time will tell. So we'll see. It's still early in the year.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else to say about Penn State?
That's about it. I mean, they're going to wax UCLA. UCLA's horrible. New first-time head coach. Not a whole lot to say about it. I'm ready to move on if you guys are.
Yeah. Zach Seiko said he expects them to run the ball 50, 60 times. I think it will be a heavy run, but if they can, man, I think they need to throw the ball and
air it out.
Get your confidence. I mean,
they need to be aggressive on first and second down and run the ball on third down. That's what they need to do. That's the rest of it. I mean, just get ahead of the sticks. Avoid third down. That's how you're going to win. Just don't face the third down.
Yeah, like Adam Sandler said in The Longest Yard, you play an easy team, beat the piss out of them, get your confidence up. Yeah, that's what they need to do with Aller against UCLA. Get his confidence up.
Yeah.
If he throws for 250, I'll be happy. If he throws for 220, 250, that's fine. Anything less, if he throws for 130 or 140 again, like he did last week, which it wasn't his fault. That's what they wanted him to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'll be pissed because they didn't call more passing plays, but we'll have to see.
I don't know what it was with Yurcich. I almost wanted to ask him at the Spikes game when I saw him, like, yo, dude, like,
why do you suck?
I'm not trying to be like a mean, but what happened against Ohio State? What happened against Michigan? Like, what were you thinking? But he's there.
He got out schemed. That's what it was. I've never met him. Nothing to say about his personal life. He just didn't work out at Penn State.
But I mean, I knew this would happen this year, and I don't know if it's a lack of confidence from Kotelnicki on Drew Aller, but I knew they would run the ball a lot, as they should. But you also have to establish confidence with Drew Aller. But I don't know if it's like a confidence thing with Kotelnicki. I don't think so. But like, I just want to see him sling the rock, man. What I love about football is, and everybody loves this about football, but like long runs, great football, great passing plays, long throws, like that's what I want to see. And we just haven't really seen it. But last thing, Ethan, is it Ethan Garbers?
Yeah.
He might not start. We don't know yet.
Yeah. But look at his stats. Look at his stats, bro. Like, that's horrible. He's 67 for 117, 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Like, it's
not good.
That's bad.
But I think his offensive line is terrible. So, I mean, we should be able to eat on Saturday. So.
Abdul Carter will have 4 sacks, I think.
Yeah.
I need to see more out of Deny, man. Deny's been okay, but he needs to be dude, he's 270 pounds. Get in there. Get in there and get some sacks. I need to see more from him.
I mean, obviously Abdul's going to be out by the end of this year, but I would love to see this 22 class come back because, man, this class is so stacked. The fact that we have Deny and Abdul at ends is that's not even fair.
Yeah.
I mean, they're both freaks, but both 5-star guys. But
Abdul's he's gonna have a career in the NFL. He's gonna be a stud. He's gonna be a Micah.
Yeah. He's a stud. I think he'll be better than Micah. I think he's no. You don't think so?
No.
Because I think
he gets to that level, man. He's just as fast, same body type. He
won't. I mean, he'll probably get drafted. He won't go top 10, but I think he's a first rounder. But I don't know.
Got it. Abdul's been. Micah wasn't in college that long. He played 2 seasons. So
he needed to play another one. If he would have played a third one, yeah.
Abdul has done more in college because he's been in college longer. So
I know that.
It's hard to say. So I don't know.
But Mike also had one of the best rookie seasons in NFL history. If Abdul does, I'll be happy. Yeah. He's not Micah, but he's close.
He's not getting the Wish version or the T-Move version. But he can still be really good.
Yeah, very good. It's absolutely.
Penn State.
What they did with go ahead. What they did with Abdul last game, you got to play the way he played last game, spying the quarterback and playing edge, going in the middle where center is. Do he's a hybrid player. Do that exact play with him the rest of the season. Don't keep him at edge every play. 100%. Keep him a spy and edge because we have edge guys who can get after the quarterback.
Yep.
Him as a spy, he's spiking balls down. He's a decoy almost. Like the offensive, I watched the one play. He set it up for Zane Durant. The one lineman saw Abdul there and lost his focus, and then Zane Durant went right through and smacked the guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the best way to play him.
Game changer.
Play him at both.
Mike is obviously a freak, and I'm a fan of his game. But dude, for me, in terms of because Micah, we didn't really see Micah that much in college. For me, it's in terms of number 11s, it's LeVar, Abdul, Micah, and then Navarro Bowman. I mean, that's my top list of number 11s, bro. I think Abdul is such a freak, and I don't know, man. I think Abdul is going to be a top 10 pick. I do, even though he's not playing that well right now.
I hope so.
He's mocked for top 15 right now. Yeah, the mock that came out. Yeah,
and the draft class next year is horrible. So it's nothing. It's awful. Yeah. So he'll find a good spot.
It's so bad. Luther Bird